Ifioma walked out of the big glass building slowly, like a child who had lost her way. The Lagos sun was burning, but her whole body felt cold. Her ID card was gone, her job was gone, pride was gone. People passing by looked at her and whispered. Some even laughed. She could feel the weight of their eyes like stones on her back. Her phone kept buzzing. She wanted to throw it away, but her hands could not let go. She opened it. The video was still everywhere. Now it had millions of views. New captions appeared every hour, from bright coat to dark shame. Pride is a disease. Meet the patient memes were flooding the internet. One showed a picture of her white sneakers with the words, "The kick that kicked her career." Another post said, "When poverty left, but pride entered." Ifioma sat inside a bolt ride, staring at the city moving past her window. Her heart was heavy like a bag of wet sand. She remembered her past, the small zinc-roofed house where she grew up. The nights when her mother cried because there was no food. The promises she made to herself. One day I will be rich. One day no one will look down on me. And yes, she made it. She escaped poverty. She wore fine clothes. She walked like a queen. But she forgot something. She forgot that respect is worth more than money. She forgot that pride can break a person faster than hunger. When she reached her apartment, it was dark. She closed the door and sat on the floor. Her tears came like floodwater. She cried until her voice broke. It's the same hands that typed "Dear Poverty, you lost the battle" on Instagram now shook with shame. Her mother called, but she could not answer. What would she say? How would she explain that she lost everything because she insulted someone's mother? And not just any mother, the mother of the man who gave her the job she was proud of. Far away in the village, Mama Abuka sat on a wooden chair, sipping hot tea. Her face was calm like early morning water. Her son Abuka sat beside her. "Have you forgiven her?" he asked softly. Mama Abuka smiled gently. "Yes, my son. I forgave her the moment she kicked me. Pride is a sickness. Maybe this will cure her." Kabuka nodded slowly. "The world is talking about her now. I hope she learns." Mama Kabuka looked out at the sky. In our land we say the hen that shouts too loud will forget that the hawk is watching. Back in Lagos, the world did not forget. Fioma's name stayed on blogs for weeks. People used her story to warn others. Even pastors preached about her. If you don't humble yourself, life will humble you. One evening, Ifioma stood by her window, looking at the city lights. She had no job. She had no friends. The followers, who once called her tech queen, had turned into mockers. She whispered to herself, "I wanted to escape poverty. I fought hard. But I lost to something worse, pride." Her tears fell again, but this time they were not just tears of shame. They were tears of wisdom. She knew her life could start again, but only if she learned the lesson written deep in her heart. Respect is richer than money. And so, the story of the proud girl who kicked an old woman became a tale on the lips of many. Mothers told their daughters, elders told the young men. Even in the market, traders said, "Do you remember that day?" The day pride fell in the dust. Because in Africa, we know this truth. The child who forgets humility will meet the lion on the open road. The sun was hot that morning. The market was alive like a beating drum. Women shouted prices, goats cried, and children ran between stalls. The smell of spices mixed with the smoke of roasted fish. It was the heart of the town, and at the center stood one woman, Mama Koko, the queen of the market. Mama Koko was a big woman with shiny gold rings on her fingers and heavy beads around her neck. Her wrapper was bright like the sun, and her head tie looked like a crown. If you wanted to sell in that market, you needed Mama Koko's blessing. If you made her angry, your business would suffer. That day she sat behind her stall counting thick bundles of money. Her table was full of pepper, onions, and baskets of dried fish. She smiled proudly as people bowed when passing her. Mama Koko loved respect, but then something happened that nobody expected. A stranger walked into the market. He was thin, like a broomstick, and his clothes were torn and dirty. Slippers had holes and his hair was full of dust. He held a small calabash in his hand and walked slowly like a man who carried the weight of the world. People turned to look. Some laughed, others moved away. He was a picture of shame in a place full of pride. The stranger walked to Mama Koko's stall. He bent his head low and spoke in a calm voice. "Mama, please help me. I have not eaten for 2 days. Give me a little food. Tomorrow you may need me." The market went silent. Then laughter broke out like fire. Women clapped their hands and shouted, "Did you hear that? Tomorrow. Huh, she is the queen. How can a beggar help her tomorrow?" Mama Koko looked at the man from head to toe. Her eyes were sharp like a knife. She said loudly so everyone could hear, "Move away from my stall, you dirty thing. You think I will waste food on you? Go and die somewhere else." The stranger raised his head. His eyes were calm, but they held something strong. He repeated, softly, "Tomorrow you may need me." Mama Koko felt anger rise in her chest. Who was this ragged man to speak such words? She stood up, her heavy wrapper sweeping the dust, and she slapped him hard across the face. "Get away from me. And you're useless tomorrow." The sound of the slap echoed through the market. People laughed and clapped. The stranger did not speak again. He touched his cheek, looked at Mama Koko for a long moment, then turned and walked slowly toward the old mango tree by the road. The laughter died slowly. People returned to their business, but some women whispered that man spoke like someone. Who knows a secret? Mama Koko sat down again, still breathing hard. She told herself the man was mad. She pushed his words out of her mind and continued counting her money. But as the day passed, the sky began to change. Dark clouds gathered, covering the sun like a black wrapper. The wind started to blow dust across the market. Mama Koko looked up and felt something cold in her heart. For the first time that day, she remembered his words, "Tomorrow you may need me." She shook her head and laughed, but the sound of her laughter was not strong. She felt the sky watching. What Mama Koko did not know was this: the stranger had already started writing her tomorrow. Morning came with silence. There was no cockcrow in Mama Koko's compound. No fire was burning in the kitchen. Her daughter sat outside with empty stomachs. Her husband stared at the wall like a carved statue. But Mama Koko was not sitting. She tied her old wrapper, covered her head with a plain scarf, and left the house before the sun rose. She walked to the market with bare feet. The ground was cold, and people looked at her in shock. The market queen, who once walked with pride, was now walking like a lost soul. She went straight to the old mango tree where the ragged stranger had gone after the slap. She looked around, but he was not there. She waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. People passed her and whispered, "What is Mama Koko doing under that tree? Is she mad? She must be looking for that strange man she slapped." But Mama Koko didn't care. Her eyes were searching. Her heart was crying. Then, when the sun began to rise fully, a sound came from the corner of the road: soft footsteps. Mama Koko looked up quickly. The ragged stranger was coming. Same torn clothes, same dust on his head, same small calabash in his hand. But this time, there was something powerful in his walk. He stopped a few steps from her. She stood up slowly. Her lips were shaking. "Please," she said in a quiet voice. "Please forgive me. I was blind. I was full of pride. But now I have nothing. Nothing but shame and empty hands." The man looked into her eyes. His face was calm but strong. "You slapped me," he said softly. "Yes," Mama Koko said, bowing her head. "I slapped you when I should have helped you." He nodded. "And I told you that tomorrow you may need me." Tears filled her eyes. She dropped to her knees. "That tomorrow is today. I am begging you now. Help me. Show me how to stand again." A long silence followed. The market women had stopped what they were doing. Some watched from behind tables. Others leaned on walls. They had never seen Mama Koko beg anyone before. The stranger opened his calabash. Inside were seeds, roots, dry herbs, and a small bag of cowries. He stretched the calabash toward her. "Take these," he said. "Plant the seeds. Use the roots to treat sick people. Boil the herbs and sell the medicine. This is your second chance." Mama Koko looked up in shock. But why help me after what I did?" The stranger's eyes became gentle. He smiled for the first time. "Because life is like a drum," he said. "Sometimes it beats for you. Sometimes it beats against you. But if we do not help one another, the sound becomes empty." He helped her to her feet. "Go now. Your journey has just started." Before she could say another word, he turned and walked away. Slowly, quietly, Mama Koko held the calabash close to her chest. It felt warm, like hope. She walked back through the market. This time, nobody laughed. Some women even stepped aside for her to pass. Her steps were slow, but sure. That night, she cleared a small space behind her house. She planted the seeds. She boiled the herbs. The smell filled her compound like healing. People came, sick ones, old ones, mothers with coughing children. She gave them medicine from the roots and herbs. Slowly, they began to heal. And slowly, Mama Koko began to rise again. Not as the proud market queen, but as a woman who learned mercy the hard way. But deep in her heart, question remained. Who was that man? A poor beggar, or something more? Months passed like flowing water. Mama Koko was no longer the proud queen of the market. She was something greater now. People called her Mama of Mercy. Her small garden grew tall green plants. The seeds from the stranger's calabash became strong crops, spices, herbs, and healing roots. The air in her compound smelled sweet and powerful. Sick people came from other villages to see her. She boiled herbs, crushed roots, and gave them medicine. They paid her with coins, food, and gifts. Slowly, Mama Koko became rich again. But this time, her heart was soft like ripe fruit. She no longer shouted at people. She gave freely to widows, fed hungry children, and spoke kindly to strangers. One evening, she sat under the same old mango tree where she had once slapped the ragged man. The sunset painted the sky with red and gold. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Stranger, where are you? I want to thank you." Her heart carried that prayer every day. But weeks passed and he never came. Some said he left the village. Others said he was not a man at all. Some even whispered that he was a spirit sent by the ancestors to teach her a lesson. One night when the moon was round and bright, Mama Koko heard a knock at her door. Knock, knock, Knock. 'Twas soft, like the tap of a bird. She opened the door. Slowly, her breath caught in her throat. There he was, the ragged stranger. But this time, he was not ragged. He wore a clean white robe that shone in the moonlight. His hair was neat and his eyes were brighter than before. Mama Koko fell to her knees. "You came back?" she whispered, tears running down her face. He smiled gently. "I told you, Mama. Tomorrow you may need me." She touched his feet. "Please, who are you? A man, a spirit, an angel? Tell me before my heart bursts." The stranger looked at the moon and said slowly, "I am a traveler. I go where pride is too heavy and hearts are too hard. I carry tomorrow in my hands for those who cannot see beyond today." Mama Koko trembled. "Why me? Why did you choose me?" He smiled. "Because power without kindness is like fire without water. It burns everything. You were the market queen, but your heart was dry. Now you are a river that gives life." Tears flowed down her cheeks like rain. "Thank you," she whispered. He placed the calabash in her hands again. Inside were new seeds bigger and stronger than before. "Share these with others," he said. "Teach them what you have learned. Let no one go hungry under your watch." Before she could speak again, he stepped back into the moonlight. His white robe shone brighter, and then like smoke from a fire, he was gone. Mama Koko stood frozen. The night was silent except for the sound of the wind in the mango tree. She clutched the calabash to her chest. She knew now the man was not just a man. He was a lesson, a warning. A gift. From that day, Mama Koko built a house of healing near the market. She taught women how to grow herbs, mix medicines, and feed the poor. She became a mother to the motherless, a helper to the helpless. People no longer called her market queen. They called her Mother Tamar, the woman who turned shame into mercy. And whenever someone asked her, "Mama, what changed you?" she would smile and say, "A slap, a beggar, and a tomorrow I could not see." Moral of the story: the person you look down on today may hold your tomorrow in their hands. Be kind, because life turns like a wheel.